Welcome back to Play the Game HQ. I'm Daniel, and this is Endeavor Deep Sea. It is published by Grand Gamers Guild and Burnt Island Games, who help sponsor this video, and it is coming to Gamefound very soon. Now, we have a full playthrough live stream of this game that we did with myself and Devin and Allison. It was a lot of fun. We had 7 cameras, lots of different angles, so you can see everything as it's going on. It was a whole lot of fun, and we'll leave links below to where you can find that and where you can find this campaign. Now, in Endeavor Deep Sea, you are going to be exploring the ocean, doing conservation work, and trying to score points, but the way you're going to score points is dictated by the mission that you're playing. This is a prototype, so things are subject to change, and we were only sent missions 1 and 2, and again, the missions are going to dictate how exactly you score points. The actions are all the same across the missions, but what you're trying to do and which actions actually will get you points at the end of the game changes from mission to mission. The board is modular. It's a maximum of 5x5, at least in the missions that we've played, and the mission dictates how you set up the board. So you'll see at the top, this is mission 2. At the top of this, it tells you which tiles to put in columns A, B, and C, and we have 3 in the first row and 1 in the second row, so that's these 3 in this one, and the specific tiles are dictated by the mission. Mission 1 had 3 in the middle and then 1 right here, and I assume that different missions will have different tiles. Now, as far as I know, they're all going to be this maximum 5x5 grid. And as you go, you're going to reveal new tiles, and you have tiles of specific depths. The deeper you go, the more complex the actions are going to be on those tiles. And the tiles are where you actually perform the actions that you're going to do throughout the game. As you go through the game, you're going to be recruiting specialists to your team. Those specialists will allow you to do actions. Some of them, if they're more advanced, will be able to do multiple actions, but those are how you actually do the actions on the board. And the really kind of the strategic pull of this game is going to be recruiting the correct people to do the right actions. Again, what you're actually trying to do is based on the mission you're playing. So it's recruiting the right specialists, but also increasing your abilities on this track here in order to be able to actually do the actions that you have the specialists for. So actions are managed by these discs. So you'll see each specialist has a space for a disc, and they have an icon that says what action they can do. So everyone starts with a team leader. The team leader can do every action. And then the reef diver can do the dive action, the sonar action. This is a more advanced specialist, so he can do 2 different actions on the same turn being activated once. Again, the more advanced they are, the better they are, the more skilled they are. And specialists can also be flipped over to a upgraded side that's going to let them do either different actions. Sometime that will allow them to do more actions, but they can be upgraded and you're going to get some benefit from upgrading them. So in order to use a specialist, you put a disc on them, and then a lot of the actions require you to also put a disc on the board. So all of these sonar actions require a disc, research actions require a disc. So most actions that you're going to do require 2 discs, one for the specialist, one for the board. And that's where that balance of like, how do you upgrade? How do you get more discs like that? The disc management is a huge part of this game. And that came into play a lot in the games that we played of like, I have the specialist, I have the ability to do these actions, but I'm just out of discs. And it's a real balance of upgrading the right things and making the choices that are specific, again, to the mission that you're on. So the rounds they follow the same flow. At the beginning of the round, in turn order, you're going to recruit a specialist. That's going to come from this tray right here. You are allowed to have duplicates of the same specialist, but you're going to recruit. You have level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the level of specialist you can recruit is dictated by this orange track here. So you have level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Wherever you are on that track at the beginning of your turn is what level specialist you can recruit. So everyone's going to recruit a specialist. The game is played over 6 rounds. Again, recruiting a specialist is the first thing that you do, and that's how you track when the game ends. After you recruit your 6th specialist, so you have a team of 7 people, that's going to be the last round. That's the end game trigger, and how you keep up with the rounds is the number of specialists that you've recruited. So everyone's going to recruit a specialist, and then based on this green track here, you're going to add discs to your board from your supply. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, based on where you are on that track. And then you're going to bring discs back from the specialists that have been activated in previous turns. Again, that's a real struggle of, like, you have to have discs to do actions, but you also have to free up specialists at the beginning of your turn in order to be able to use them. So if you're on turn 5 and you haven't upgraded this yellow track here, you're going to be able to bring back maybe 1 or 2 discs, and you're going to be really hindered in what you're able to do and the number of actions you're going to be able to do. But at the same time, if you don't upgrade the green track, then you're not going to have discs to put on specialists, even if you can free up the specialist. And because you have to use discs on the board to actually do an action, that's also like those discs don't come back. So some discs are going to cycle through. The ones on the specialist will hopefully cycle through because you'll bring them back. Other discs are spent and you have to get new discs from your supply onto your board. That happens either from the green track. There are some times on the board, some actions are going to give you a bonus, but those are the two ways that you're really going to have to manage discs, is how many you bring back in order to free up specialists and you get those to use, and how you get new discs onto your board that you can spend. This blue track is how many movements you can go. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 spaces you can move when you do a movement action, and how deep you can go. So you can't go deeper than your level on this board. So I, as red, could not go deeper than level 4. Now, one caveat, this is not actual gameplay here. I set it up as best I could. So as we go through all of this, don't look too closely and like count my research cards and stuff, because this may not match what's actually going on, but it is all fairly accurate. So your blue bar, again, is how many spaces you can go, and it's also going to let you unlock submarines. Everyone starts with one submarine. You always start on the sea star, and when you add a new submarine, you add it to the sea star, and your submarines are on this space here and this space here. When you get to that space, you unlock that submarine, and you can do those. You have more submarines to visit different spaces at the same time. Now let's take a look at the map tiles, because there's a few different things that we need to look at on those. Each map tile has a bonus that the person who places that tile gets. That's in the top left corner here. And then you also have an arrival bonus. Every map tile gives you a bonus when you arrive at that tile, when you do a movement action. Again, those are going to be ways that you're going to upgrade your board. You're going to be able to sometimes add discs. So when you arrive at this one, you're going to be able to add a disc from your supply. But each tile is going to give you a bonus when you place it and a bonus when you go to it. And you're also going to be able to get different bonuses, mainly through like research papers and through doing actions on the board. Now, there are 5 different kinds of actions. Your team leader can do every action. They can only do it once per turn, but when you activate your team leader, they have the ability to do every single action that's available. And then all of the other specialists have an action dictated by the icons on the specialist. And again, some of them give you bonuses when you recruit them. Some of them are just really strong and don't give you a bonus when you recruit them. But this game is very icon heavy. And once you get the hang of the icons, which aren't complicated, there's 5 different actions with 5 different icons. Once you understand the icons, it really takes off the need to reference the rules, because the icons really tell you what you're going to be able to do and how you're going to do it. So there's 5 key actions to the game. You have movement. That's the little wheel right there. That just lets you move. You can move orthogonally. You can't move diagonally. So you can move sideways, up and down, but only orthogonally. And you can move the number of spaces based on where you are on the blue track. So that's the movement action. The sonar action is how new tiles get added to the board. You're going to do the sonar action by going to these sonar spaces, and you have to follow the track sideways. So if I do this sonar action, I can't just immediately take this space. You have to go left to right on the track on the tile. So that's the sonar action activated by a player with the sonar ability. Next, you have the dive action. When you're on a tile with dive tokens, which are these right here, you can do the dive action. That is one of the actions that doesn't require a disc to do. You have to put a disc on a specialist that can do the dive action, but you don't have to spend a disc on the board for that action. The dive tokens give you that's the main way that you're going to get research points, which is that's the currency in the game, is the research points. So the dive actions give you research points mostly, but they also sometimes allow you to do an extra action, and you get to choose which bonus you want to take. So this right here can either give you 3 research points, which again, you just track on this track right here, or you can do an extra move action as part of another action. So you pick which bonus you want to take. Some of them just give you 1 bonus, some give you a choice, but that's the dive tokens. It's currency, and it's additional actions, additional bonuses. Next, we have conservation actions, which is the turtle. So any tile that has the turtle actions on it, you're going to do the conservation action. Most of them have a cost. Again, that is your research points you're going to spend. So to do this conservation action, you're going to activate someone that can do a conservation action. So you might activate your captain to do a conservation action, put a disc there, put a disc over here. They cost research to do, and then you get a bonus. Again, anytime that you place a disc or complete something that has an icon on it, you get that as a bonus. So if you do this conservation action, you're going to get to up your orange track 1 space. And the last action you can do is research papers. So that is the pen and paper icon. So here's one right here. You do that action. Again, you have to activate a specialist to do that action. And then you can complete a paper of the same color. So this one is the blue arrow paper. Again, they are icons in addition to the color, so they are colorblind friendly. So you can do the blue 2 arrow paper. So I could do this one, or I could do this one that has multiple options. When you do a paper, you have to pay the cost of the top, and then you get, most of the time it's an instant bonus. There's also ongoing bonuses. Some research papers allow everyone else at the table to have a bonus also. And some have an ongoing, like once per turn or when you discard the card, but they just have bonus. They're good. They help you. They don't typically score end-game points. I don't know if any of them do. Mostly they just give you instant ability and then ongoing abilities. They're going to help you throughout the game. Some of them just give you a single one-time ability, but those are the research papers. So those are the 5 actions that you can do during the game. You'll notice some of these actions have lines in between them. Those that have a line in between them with an icon like this one right here, if you are on one end of that line and someone completes the action on the other end of that line, you get the bonus in the middle, and everyone who's part of that gets a bonus. So getting to different tiles and doing especially conservation actions is typically where you see those, but you'll see there's some on the sonar actions here. But like for this conservation action here, this red player, if they got this spot first, then they're going to get a bonus when every other spot on this tile is completed. Now with mission 2, there's not a lot of drive to do conservation actions, which is kind of how it changed. Mission 1, you basically get points for every disc that you have on the board. It is technically broken down by sonar and conservation and research, but it's essentially every disc on the board gets you 1 point. So you have a drive, you're encouraged to do every type of action. In mission 2, it's very, very different. So mission 2, you get 1 point per sonar disc in columns B and C. So that's only sonar discs. So conservation actions and research papers in these 2 columns don't get you any points. Then you have goal number 2, which is per disc and vessel in columns C, D, and E. So you do get points for research actions in this column. So it's any disc and any vessel in these 2 columns. And then sonar discs in rows 2, 3, and 4. So in these 3 rows, you get points just for sonar discs. This was the mission that we did for that live stream, and I think there were 1 or 2 conservation actions done. Again, mission 1, you were really encouraged to do conservation actions because you got points for doing conservation actions. Mission 2 was primarily sonar. It was get around the board, do a lot of stuff on these 2 columns. These 2 columns in that game were very much filled up because you got points for every disc in these 2 columns. The rest were really just sonar actions. There wasn't a whole lot of conservation and research going on this side of the board. Now, the one thing we haven't talked about is the impact board over here. Anytime you see a star icon, like if you do this conservation action right here, you're going to get to put a piece on the impact board. When you place something on the impact board, you either have to go at one of these little entry arrows or next to a piece that's already placed. It doesn't have to be your piece, it can be any piece. And you get the bonus for the space that you place your cube on. And then the yellow and orange spaces get you victory points at the end of the game. So that's another way to score points. So that is everything you can do in the game. Now, again, the typical turn, you're going to recruit, you're going to add discs, you're going to bring discs back, and then players are going to go around and take turns taking actions with available specialists and using the discs that they have at their disposal until everyone passes. Once you're out of discs or out of specialists with open spaces, you have to pass. You can't do anything else on that round. So once everyone has passed, the round ends. And again, you play through 6 rounds total. And at the end of the game, you're going to score based on your spaces that you have on the impact board. Again, yellow spaces are worth 1, orange spaces are worth 2. You're going to score based on the mission that you're on. You have the individual mission goals, and then there is a first and second place bonus for those missions. And then you're also going to score based on where you are on this track right here. So you get 2, 4, 7, or 10 points based on where you are on each track, and you score each track individually. And at the end of the game, the player with the most points wins. It is a very straightforward game. The rules are very simple to pick up. The iconography is really helpful. It's really easy to follow, especially once you know it. But the strategy, again, it's so dynamic from game to game, not only because the missions are changing, but also because the board is changing. So what you have the option to do is going to change from game to game. Now, when you do a sonar action, you're going to get two tiles to look at, and you're going to pick one of those to place. And so that also brings strategy into the game in placing the tiles that lend themselves to the mission you're on. But that also has the potential to limit your options. If you get 2 research tiles on a sonar-heavy game, then you're going to have fewer options for sonar things to do, or for sonar actions to do. So there's just a lot of different ways as you play the game, and as you play each different game, that the game is going to change, and it's going to create different choices, different strategic options, and just make it a slightly different game, a dynamic game each time you play. So this is Endeavor Deep Sea. It is coming to Gamefound very soon. We'll leave links below to where you can find more information about this. If you have any questions, let me know. We've played quite a few games of this, so I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Just leave me a comment, and I'll be sure to answer it as quick as I can. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.